Yeah, let's do this. This is Raw Talks again. Hello, I'm Stefan Everson, aka Mr. Raw. You know me, and this time I'm having Mr. David Biden on the call on this podcast. Hi to you, David.
Hello, buddy. How are you?
I'm doing very good, and I'm doing very good because I'm very excited. First of all, it's Monday, as we all know, and we're gonna talk about something that really is close to my heart. And I thought I was the only exited commercial founder in the United Kingdom. But there you go. Who are you, David?
I am David Biden. I'm one of the founders of a company called Growth Venture Group. And as you said, I'm a sort of twice exited, as you describe it. CRO, Chief Leading Revenue Officer of a couple of organizations, still own a couple of businesses now, and here to talk to you today about growing revenue at all those different tricky stages of startup life.
Well, so you believe that is important? Is that what you're trying to emphasize?
Yeah, yeah, very much so. So my background is as a chief revenue officer of various different organizations, normally in the consultancy or software development sectors, into both public and private organizations. And really, I've held that role at all different stages. There's one business I had that we grew to just under 998k in revenue in from zero in 12 months. So I took it from a sort of slide deck and a dream to just under a million. I'll obviously always remember that number in 12 months. And then another, we grew up to sort of 9 million over 5 years and then exited from there as well. So yeah, I think sales for those types of organizations is a constantly changing and evolving beast from when you're getting that first ever sale through to when you're doing multiple millions per year.
So you help founders. What type of companies do you help?
So usually at the moment, I work with founders that are doing around 1 million to 1.5 million, and those people are usually founder-led businesses that the founder is still doing all of the sales. You can depends obviously what your average price point is and what
Mm.
markets you're in and things like that. But you can usually get to about 1.5 million on your own through grit, blood, sweat, and tears.
And no
Before
holidays.
and no, and no holidays, indeed. Not many weekends either, and keep the business just about going. Now, it's not a very enjoyable place to be, and a lot of the founders that I work with, they don't love sales. It's not their absolute passion. They do it through the necessity of wanting to have their own business, and they're usually very, very good at what they do. So they might be a tech genius, they might be a marketing genius. One of them is a bidding genius that I'm working with at the moment. They
Bidding
really
genius, bidding on
yeah, bidding within as in government tenders. They're excellent at frameworks and government tenders. But really getting to that point of around 1.5 million, the wheels kind of come off if you try and do more than that on your own as a solo entrepreneur.
So you created an organization, and what you are literally now, you're stuck.
Yes, we help from that transition from founder-led sales to salesperson or sales team-led sales, and it was really interesting. It was born out of an organization that I was co-founder of. We did very well, got up to about 1.5 million, and then we hired an excellent salesperson, and we were like, right, well, they're only going to be responsible for sales, and we know that they're really good at sales because they're smashing through their targets where they currently are, and they've got decades of experience. And it was quite a failure, really. They didn't really sell much at all, 18 months, and the natural thing to do is to blame the person, the salesperson that you've hired, and for some reason just make up stories that they were rubbish or they couldn't hack it at startup life or that it
Of
was
course,
your
it's never my
industry or
fault.
something.
It's never my fault.
Exactly. But what I did is I took a look back on what had actually happened, only retrospectively, quite some time later, and realised that it was entirely my fault, really, rather than theirs. When you're when you're a founder of an organization and you're doing all the sales yourself, your core mission, your vision, your values, like you live them, you breathe them every day. You sort of run around London telling everybody about them gleefully. You don't ever really write them down. You don't ever really state that clearly what they are. And your CRM can be a notepad in your back pocket, or it can be the Excel spreadsheet that you made on day one that's stored on your desktop, because you don't really need too much up to that point. It's not that hard to track £1.5 million worth of deals. And your standard operating procedures and your sales processes are whatever you decide them to be that day. Like your pricing can literally be made up and discounted on a whim. It can be, for a lot of people, it's what the first person paid for it. And you usually you'll sell like 5 or 10 through people you know in your entrepreneurial network. You'll sell another 5 through sort of somebody.
I have at least two founder-led companies, and I think what I actually just did was bumping up the prices 30-50%, and nobody
Mhm.
felt anything.
Yeah, it's often very untested, the price point up to about £1.5 million at the moment. It is literally what people are willing to pay. Case studies mean an awful lot at that stage of the game as well. Discounting to get the case studies and things like that is very, very common and not a bad idea. But it doesn't really matter when you're the founder and you're doing all the sales, because you keep it all in your head and you're like, well, I won't give them that discount at renewal, but for the first one, I'll do this and things like that. So when you haven't
Answer
written,
is not just the answer is not just hiring a sales manager or a sales guy, a sales consultant. If you want to stop doing the sales yourself, what do you do?
well, you need to build a sales team, build a sales engine, really. You can look, there are organizations out there where you can outsource sales. I'm not a major fan of that myself. Like your revenue, your pipeline is literally the most important thing most of the time, especially in this stage of an organization. To the thought of handing that over to an external organization seems bonkers to me. But some people do it. So I think you've got to hire that salesperson. You've got to build that internal sales capability, and you've got to build that internal sales team. But without defining what your core mission, vision, and values are, without defining your standard operating procedures and your sales processes, and all of the basics around pricing and things, terms and conditions, and things like that, you're not going to get very far in employing a salesperson, because they won't sell like you. A lot of founders believe that, okay, they'll just start selling in the first month because they're great at sales. And it's like, well, it doesn't really work like that. You've got to imbue the sort of the passion and the vision for the organization into this person first. Then you've got to actually train them on the thing that they're selling. And then you can sort of set them free, as it were, to go and sell. But a lot of people miss that early stage. That handover is like them attending 4 meetings with you, or you sort of writing a few bits down and having them shadow you and things like that. It's usually not going to work at the scale and speed that you need it to at that important stage of an organization if you don't manage this transition. And the transition can be done in like 90 days. Like it's not a huge task, but you just got to have all the stuff there ready to go, all the different assets that they need ready to go, and the right training and things done for them as well.
My approach is always the first thing I do is because we do a little alike, but that's fine. What I'm doing now is I'm just to let you know, I'm building a company called Traction, where I'm putting all this what we're actually talking to into a text, so you can monitor all your traction. So so
Nice.
so we're not competitors anymore. What I was the first thing I always do is I start talking to the existing clients, and I
Yep.
simply ask them, why are you buying from this company? Because that brings out the essence of the company and brings out the essence without the founder. Because there are always,
Absolutely.
and based on that, you can create the value proposition, you can adjust the vision and the mission and all this, because in essence, the only reason why a company exists is because you have customers buying from them. And you might as well, if people are buying from you, find out why the heck they're buying from you, because usually the customer is buying on the same premises.
Yeah, totally agree. And why people aren't buying more from that same company. There's so much information in the existing customer base, usually, whether they would be repeat customers or they're just waiting for the contract to expire, getting ahead of that early and things like that.
And I get,
Yes,
by the way, the most in that when I look on all my customers, when asked that question, that's because you never called me.
yeah. So one of the
I would,
most
I
common
would
things.
love to buy from you, but you didn't call me.
Yeah, yeah, you're exactly right. Like account management is something that is completely overlooked and people think doesn't really need to happen until they're more established. Or usually it's the route to an easiest next sale is with the existing customers that you have. There's something really interesting that happens with most of the clients that I work with is that the first thing they say is we need more leads. Everybody needs more leads. I'm like, okay, cool. Let's look at the existing leads that you get and how they're handled, shall we?
Yeah, I
I
was
mean,
just about to say because that's because the founder always has two, three, four, 500, if not 1,000, in his pipeline that he never reached out to because you have to do the daily works and all that stuff. So there's
yeah,
always, mostly always, a huge chunk of meat.
that, exactly. They're often too busy to follow up the leads. Really interesting. The thing that came out of a HubSpot book that I've read recently is they were saying that for small to medium enterprises, following up 5 times is about the average for when you will get that return, and some of them they will start engaging you. 8 times for medium enterprises and 12 times for large scale enterprises. But people are barely picking up the first engagement in SME world when it's so crazy and busy and it's so fast paced. So to then track through making sure you're hitting them 5 times, 6 times, 7 times, 8 times just doesn't really happen. What they do is they focus on obtaining brand new net new leads, which is the hardest thing to do. So one of the what the common place is to look is how do you handle the existing amount of leads that come on before we start putting blood, sweat, tears, and cash into generating new ones.
I agree. At this point helping a SaaS company, and it's funny. They're only doing $1,200. So what's that? £800 in monthly recurring revenue. But that's due to their low pricing point. They could bump it up 20 times actually. And number two, they have a user base of 10,000 users that went on their platform, but they never reached out to before.
Right. Yeah.
It's like, why?
Yeah, very much so. Golden
No, it's
opportunity
just in
there.
front of you. Why?
Yeah. Why is it that they didn't? Was it a time thing, a capacity skills thing?
They just didn't do it. Well, this is early stage, of course, and that's not what we are talking about when you're doing one and a half. But what usually always happens with most founders, actually doesn't matter where you are, is that you do what you like doing,
Yes,
and
very
what you like
human interest.
doing is usually and most likely not the thing you should be doing.
Yeah, I find that with a lot of tech founders is they'd much rather spend time adding features that weren't really asked for to the platform than they would selling the platform. Or they'll put off big events like an actual sales event or booking meetings and things like that because we're waiting until there's till the new feature's done. I'm like, no one's even seen the first feature yet, let alone the 53rd. So how about we get out there and get meeting people, get them onboarded as clients, but also get their valuable feedback before we start developing new features.
All right, so yeah, I agree. So what you're saying is what you're doing firstly, and what any GTM nerd should go in and do at a company is to assess what is it actually you guys are doing, not based on the founder, but on the actual delivery and the company, and based on that, create a value proposition and stuff like that, and then hiring people,
Exactly
and
that.
then making sure that they actually work. Because
Yeah, for sure. Hiring a salesperson without product market fit is always going to be really, really hard. But there's
Mhm.
stuff that you can do. Even in one week, you could define the offer, define the ICP, define lots of other stuff and test some of it so that when the salesperson lands, you're like, right, this is what we sell, this is who we sell it to. And then you could devise the how we sell it with the salesperson. But if you haven't even defined the ideal customer profile and you're interviewing for a salesperson, that sounds a bit nuts to me. And any good salesperson will sniff that out in an interview process.
Yeah,
But it happens all the time.
it happens all the time. Wow. So, 2 times exited founder. Now you are living with your wife somewhere in Kent. Is that correct?
I am, yeah.
That's amazing. And from there you fly out to the big London, and is it London-based customers, or is it actually the rural part of the United Kingdom there?
A bit of everywhere, to be honest with you. So not just London. I'm spread about the UK. So obviously a lot of the work that we do remote at the moment, but a lot of the initial work around go to market and strategy that we do with the founders is face to face. I think those things still work so much better. And a lot of the strategy setting sessions that we do are all face to face as well, because you just get a lot more out of it than you can. I am a fan of remote working, but I don't like it 100% of the time. I don't really have any great views on whether people should be working in the office or not. I think both work for different things. I know that people get very het up about that. But yeah, a
I
lot of
need
the
to
work.
be with people. I need to smell people. That's what I learned about the
Yeah, I mean,
corona.
as a natural salesperson, I very much enjoy the energy of other people and of sales meetings. I'm still a big fan of doing initial sales meetings face to face for someone that has been sort of part qualified through a digital slash remote process. I think there's almost a niche in there at the moment because everybody's trying to do everything 100% remote. And when you put the business case forward for face to face versus remote, it initially doesn't stack up very well. You need a length of time to see that the initial meetings build greater relationships and therefore more sales. But that takes a lot more time than just putting a business case together to go, hey, we can get through 15 meetings a day if we do them remotely and only 5 if we do them face to face.
You
But
don't
yeah,
you don't see the small signals in the head on the screen.
yeah,
You don't
there's
see the
just
rest of the body, how it acts in regards to what you're saying, whether I'm getting distant to you or not. I will still be sitting and smiling.
exactly, and just seeing their office, meeting the rest of the management team and things like that that you might bump into while you're there and learning about them, like those bits that you learn about the company's sort of struggles so far and successes so far when you're in the lift or having a coffee or something like that. Like at that early stage, a lot of the people I work with, like they are founders of companies. They usually didn't do it for fun. They did it because they're greatly passionate about something and they want to talk about it. And if you've only got a sort of 3 hour workshop, you don't really get all that. Like it's fun as well. I love what I do. I love sales. I always have. So to be able to sort of hear someone as passionate about their business as I am about sales, and then sort of think about how we can put the two together, is a great fun thing to do in person.
I agree. So if you were to, because there's most likely a founder who's making 1 million, 1.5 million, if there are 3 key takeaways from him, apart from, of course, hiring you, what should he focus on?
I think the first is get your core mission, vision, and values um, in place,
Mhm.
and as well as your offer to the market and an ICP before you hire a salesperson. I think you'll just have such an improved probability of smooth transition if you do that, and it's not an enormous, it's not months and months of work to be able to do. And that's the first one. The second one is really think about what you want from a sales team or salesperson before you hire them. Are you looking for market penetration? Are you paying commissions? Are you looking for just pure cash through the door? Think about how quickly, what you want to do is you want to reduce the time to sale. So it's something that I working in software development, like you have time to delivery in the sort of DevOps world, reducing that as much as possible is absolutely key. Obviously, in an ideal world, you want to hire a salesperson and on their first day they sell something. Very unlikely. So if it is more like 3 months, 6 months normally, what can we do to reduce that time to sale? Just sit back, think of everything that you can before you hire that salesperson again as
It's
well.
also a thing I've learned. I think maybe should come into to account is that when you're a founder and you hire a sales guy, whether they use David or Stefan or whatever on that part, it's important for that salesperson because he's the founder. That means he's the ultimate CEO. So that means that anything he says, is godlike. And that brings in fear to people as well, because if I fail through my God, my founder, then I'm done. So I need somewhere to actually, I can't develop with that person unless he takes this under his arm and actually mentor him through the whole path, which is most likely not the case. So what you need is some external coaching to those salespeople, so they first of all can say, "Oh God," and then the founder came in and said, "Why I didn't blah 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 blah," and then blah blah blah, and all these things, because you can't get that off. And the point is when the founder actually knows how to sell his solution, it's really hard for him to even on the sorry about the sun. It's even yeah. How's that going? Sorry about that. Jesus. Um, yeah, is that that you get some ventilation, you get a place where you can evolve with all the mistakes that you do, because that's one thing that most people don't acknowledge with salespeople. You will first become a good salesperson selling a specific product after you have failed X amount of time.
Yeah, I think it's really important. Like the moment you hire a salesperson or a sales team, you go from being a salesperson to a sales manager, two extremely different roles. So get in place from day one how you're going to track, manage that person. What are you going to be doing if you're not doing sales? But then you've got to carve out the time to manage that person as well. How often would that be? What are the roles and responsibilities? Yeah. So they're
Did
my
we
three
go
things.
through all three? What was the first?
I can't.
That's the value prop. Did you assess the market and the product and stuff like that? And then second,
Yeah, core mission, vision, values, and your ICP and offer was the first. The second was I can't remember. We'll have to go back and look at the recording.
yeah, exactly. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It's been a splendid talking to you. And listen, founder, get your sales going. Hire people like David. Hire a salesperson, but get some external help, and you'll throttle much faster. That's a promise. And I hope anyway this has inspired our audience to do something more about sales, because in my opinion, it's all about sales. You know.
Excellent. Lovely to meet you, buddy. Lovely to speak to you again. Yeah, enjoyed it.
Have a great day, David.
And you. Thanks, Stefan.